The entire abortion debate is one that is hardly avoidable and almost constantly in your face as an American citizen. Many people are familiar with the pro-life and the pro-choice movements, but most people don't recognize the subtle movements that are also having an impact in the abortion debate. Today, we will be focusing on the differences between the three separate types of activism within the pro-life community and how each of them have had a specific impact within the movement. When imagining the pro-life movement, many people think of the familiar sight of a group of pro-life activists standing with signs and praying outside of their local Planned Parenthood. Although this is the poster child way that pro-life activists show their support for the cause, there are many behind-the-scenes actions taken by people of this community to raise awareness and fight for the cause. Clinic protesting is only one of the ways that people in the pro-life community have an impact on the abortion issue. Pro-life activism falls into three categories, some that are more predominant than others. Clinic protesting falls under the broader category of grassroots activism. The other, more unrecognized categories include radical activism and political activism. To truly understand the complexity of the pro-life movement as a whole, it is important to investigate and understand all of the different ways that the pro-life activists participate in their cause. We will begin by looking at the most obvious and familiar form of participation, grassroots activism. Grassroots activism involves organizations working collectively at the local level to effect change on a bigger scale. They tend to emphasize self-organization and encourage people in their community to contribute and take responsibility within the movement. The pro-life community does this in a number of different ways. Organizing clinic protests is a small part of this kind of activism, but it has made a major impact. Clinic protesting is one of the most effective ways that the pro-life movement has gained publicity and prominence in today's society. Although it's not the only part of their form of grassroots activism, it is essential in keeping their presence permanently known in the abortion debate. Other forms of grassroots activism that the pro-life movement encourages are things like silent prayer outside clinics, sidewalk counseling, hosting events for other pro-life activists to participate in, passing out flyers in neighborhoods, or singing Christmas carols outside abortion facilities. While some of these things seem subtle and less effective than others, the pro-life community values participation at every level. By offering a plethora of options for participation, the pro-life community also encourages more people to get involved with their movement. For some people, the idea of standing outside an abortion clinic chanting, "Abortion is murder," and holding up posters of bloody fetuses and tiny baby feet seems a bit too intimidating. The pro-life community doesn't exclude supporters that don't want to participate in the typical way of clinic protesting, but rather offer a wide range of other options that they consider just as effective. Instead, a supporter that wants to become involved can do something they are more comfortable with, like silently praying outside of a clinic. By encouraging people who want to take part in the movement to find a way to participate that they are comfortable with, the pro-life community has unified its supporters and expanded its presence. The Pro-Life Action League has set up a website that outlines different ways supporters can take action within their communities and teaches people how to create an open discussion about the abortion topic. One thing that a lot of people are unaware of is that the pro-life community isn't instructing its protesters to scream into the faces of women walking into an abortion clinic and harass Planned Parenthood staff. Instead, the Pro-Life Action League encourages conversation and offers many tools to aid in the very difficult conversation about abortion. They give advice on how to give sidewalk counseling to a woman who is considering abortion, as well as tips on how to keep the abortion conversation friendly when talking to someone with the opposing viewpoint. Much of the grassroots activism in the pro-life movement emphasizes presence and prayer. The main goal is to create a large presence outside abortion clinics so that people see the power and unity within the community and are encouraged to join. And when all else fails, pray. The Pro-Life Action League's websites continually reminds members to pray when confronted with intimidating situations and to look to God for assistance and forgiveness for women considering abortions. While grassroots activism is more peaceful than many people originally think, other forms of pro-life activism are very combative. One of the more unseen forms of activism within the movement is radical activism. Within the pro-life community, like most communities, there have always been extremist groups that act violently. The Army of God is an example of one of these extremist groups. This group focuses on the work of Scott Roeder and Paul Jennings Hill. Both are regarded by the Army of God as American heroes for the actions they took in the pro-life movement. Scott Roeder was charged with the murder of George Tiller in 2009. George Tiller was a late-term abortionist who practiced in Kansas. Roeder killed him by shooting him in the back of the head while Tiller was attending church. Their other hero, Paul Jennings Hill, was convicted for the murder of an abortion doctor. He has written many papers and statements encouraging the murder of abortionists and says that murdering abortionists, quote, would put the pro-life rhetoric about defending born and unborn children equally into practice, end quote. The Army of God website also includes a link to a list of people in prison for convicted violent crimes against abortionists or abortion clinics. Along with this link, you are given the option to contact these felons or send them financial assistance. This website and extremist group is a disturbing example of radical activism within the pro-life movement. Unlike the Pro-Life Action League, this group idolizes violence and glorifies crime. Groups like this one stir up a lot of controversy within the pro-life community. Although the Army of God members act in a radical fashion, they do cause a great impact in the abortion debate. Radical action stirs up great controversy and keeps the pro-life debate in the public spotlight. The final form of activism we will be looking at today is political activism. Unlike grassroots activism and radical activism, political activism is hardly ever in the public spotlight. Members of the pro-life community have been working politically ever since the decision of Roe v. Wade. Political activists are mostly forgotten about in the pro-life movement, but they have played a major role in the fight to outlaw abortion in the United States. Pro-life political activists work in many ways, from lobbying in Congress to supporting local leaders that are anti-abortion. Even though this is the most invisible part of the pro-life movement, political activism has peacefully and democratically helped shape the pro-life movement and the abortion debate into what it is today. These three forms of activism are all unique and serve a specific purpose within the pro-life movement. The pro-life movement would be incomplete without the widespread grassroots movement, the action-oriented extremists, and the influential political activists. These three very different groups have helped to propel the pro-life movement forward and keep the discussion of the morality of abortion an ever-present topic in the United States.